Hello all, welcome to the new Simply Put series by Kalam Academy. This is Priyanka Mahapatra, faculty at Kalam. Today we'll be having a discussion on the newspaper dated 1st of December 2023. So the articles which are displayed in the text and the context section of the Hindu newspaper are: first is about understanding simultaneous elections, which is very important from our exam point of view. So we would be discussing this. Other than that, articles which got displayed in the next page are unimportant from our exam point of view. So we won't be discussing them. Similarly, in the explained section of the Indian Express newspaper, we have some articles and they are unimportant from our exam point of view, so we won't be discussing them. So basically, we'll be discussing only one article, that is simultaneous polls. So what is simultaneous polls? Why are we even talking about it? So you know now that our current electoral cycle is very staggered. We are constantly in the election mode. There are even cases where more than 5 state elections happening in a year. So you can gauge the amount of resources getting involved in the process, the amount of time that is getting wasted, the amount of security forces and administrative setup they are coming together, being diverted from their normal duties and coming to assist in the election duties, and also the amount of policy paralysis we are going through because of the application of the model code of conduct throughout. So in order to avoid this situation, we have come up with the idea of conducting simultaneous polls. As the name suggests, it is the concept of synchronizing, it is the concept of bringing together the timing of Lok Sabha elections, state assembly elections, and even the local bodies elections across all the states. So here the aim is to reduce the frequency of the polls throughout the country, such that the voters in a particular constituency, they will come and vote in a particular day, on the same day. So the elections would be happening in a phased wise manner and they won't be happening on the single day. Here you need to be clear that all the states won't be having the elections on the same day. They will be given different dates, different schedule, but yes, within a very short span of time, within the same year. Right? So these statements can be a part of your prelims question and they can come to confuse you. So you should be clear about this. So this concept is not at all new. We were already having simultaneous polls in the first ever general election till 1967. That is, through the 3 subsequent Lok Sabha elections, we were having the simultaneous polls. So until we were having the dominance of a single party, that is Congress party, we were comfortably having the simultaneous polls. After which it got disrupted because of the regional politics, because of the eruption of the regional parties, because of the counter defections. So the cycle first broke in 1959 when Centre invoked Article 356 in the then Kerala government. So this is an important prelims pointer you should be remembering. So after that, the Election Commission of India suggested working on simultaneous elections in 1983, way back in 1983, because of the regional politics. It wanted to have again the process of simultaneous polls. And then after, we are thinking on the feasibility how to bring about that process comfortably, smoothly in a huge country like India. Now also we are having some partial sense of simultaneous polls. Like in the last Lok Sabha election, we were having simultaneous polls of some states like Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Andhra Pradesh and Orissa. Even some countries, they follow the system of simultaneous polls like South Africa, Belgium, Germany and Sweden. Even the Parliament of UK, it is regulated by the Fixed Term Parliament Act of 2011 where it is having the term of the parliament fixed. Now we come to the advantages of the simultaneous polls. So what are the benefits we'll be having if the polls are conducted simultaneously? First is that it will reduce the cost of repeated elections to the tune of thousands of crores. that is 3,500 to 4,000 crores. I just told you that more than 5 state assemblies, when they're going to polls in a year, you know how much cost is involved in the process. So bringing simultaneous polls, it will reduce the cost. Secondly, it will optimize the governance and development. How? It will avoid policy paralysis caused by the model code of conduct during election periods. Now, when the simultaneous polls will be happening, there will be only elections once in 5 years. And therefore, the model code of conduct will also be implemented once in 5 years. So the policy paralysis caused by the MCC will be reduced. Again, you must understand that when there are frequent polls happening, the political parties, they just take many populist measures for immediate political gains rather than thinking for sustainability, rather than thinking for long-term prudent policy making. So this is also avoided when you go for simultaneous polls. Then there will be less polarization. When there are frequent polls, there is a lot of regionalism, casteism, crony capitalism, communalism happening every time. So because of the simultaneous polls, the regionalism, casteism, communalism, polarization will decrease. And hence, the issues of national importance will be more on the electoral agenda. Then it will reduce the strain on the administrative setup and security forces. How? Because in frequent polls, what happens, security forces like paramilitary forces, CAPF, administrative setup, they will come together, getting diverted from their normal duties, and they will be coming to assist in the election duties. Thereby, the security and the safety of the country is threatened by the frequent polls. So this thing will get reduced in case of simultaneous polls. Again, it is said that it will increase the voter turnout. Now, the people will be conveniently coming to cast their ballots on one day instead of coming many times. They were not coming for that reason. Who will go so many times? And now, when it is only one day, people will be more encouraged to come and vote, come and cast their ballots in their respective constituencies. Hence, many committees from before, like way back in 1999, the Law Commission of India, headed by Justice B.P. Jivan Reddy, also advocated for the simultaneous polls. And in this aspect, the Niti Aayog working paper of 2017 and Parliamentary Standing Committee, they are also in the same thought process that the one nation, one election is desirable for India. But again, the question is not about the desirability. Yes, we know that it is desirable because of so many advantages, but the feasibility is the main question mark. How to make it feasible for the huge country like India? How to take care of the constitutional issues? How to take care of the administrative issues? How to take care of the federal issues that are coming up with so many amendments, so many changes in the process of elections, right? So let's come to the disadvantages. Why it is not feasible in a country like India. You can quote this report where Law Commission of India's draft report, chaired by Justice B.S. Chauhan, he said that it is not feasible within the existing framework of the Constitution. Because the amendments which are needed in the Constitution are about the amendments made in 5 articles of the Constitution. That is Article 83, 85, 172, 174 and 356. And above all, it needs to be ratified by at least 50% of the states. So currently, if you see that no party has even simple majority in the Rajya Sabha, while the states have different parties in power, many of which are not in favor of such amendments therefore. Right? And there will be changes required in the Representation of People's Act in 1951 and also changes required in the rules of procedure of Lok Sabha and state assemblies. So there is a lot of concern with respect to the statutory and the constitutional amendments. then it infringes on the federal structure of the constitution. It is an assault on the basic structure of the constitution because it can change the system into a unitary structure. This they can do in two ways. That is, first is the ruling government can recommend the dissolution of its own assembly, which they can always do where they are enjoying the majority. Again, in the opposition rule states, they can also bring president's rule under the recommendation of the central government. So this is how they can infringe on the federal structure of the constitution by making the system unitary. Right? There is a constitutional problem also which affects the federal structure of the constitution. Imagine a state falling in a year, a state government falling in a year. So in that situation, one cannot keep the state under the president's rule for 4 more years to wait for the synchronization year to come. Similarly, if the Lok Sabha is falling in some days, like happened in the Vajpayee government, it fell in just 13 days. So one cannot keep the Lok Sabha going forever. So these are the constitutional issues which is affecting the federal structure of the constitution that can happen in case of simultaneous elections. Again, it infringes on the democracy as well, where the citizens' rights are coming into question here. So if the parliament or assemblies are prematurely dissolved before completing their terms of 5 years to hold simultaneous elections, then there is a breakdown of the sacrament here that existed between the people and the parliament or the government, because they had chosen that government. And if we are prematurely dissolving, then it is affecting the choice of the voter there as the right to choice, thus infringing on their freedom of speech and expression. Right? Then there is diminished accountability as well. When there are frequent polls, there are frequent registration of viewpoints, opinions, rejections happening about the legislators. They keep the legislators on their toes. But in case of simultaneous polls, they will only happen once in 5 years. Thus, the accountability will be reduced. Again, there is a phenomena that will happen, that is national constituency phenomena, where national issues might eclipse the local ones. Thus, there is a tendency among the voters to vote for the same party both for electing the state government and the central government. In this process, the regional issues will be eclipsed. They will be hidden off. Thus, it will incentivize the regional discontent. Again, these phenomena is against the political diversity which is essential for addressing the social diversity of India. Right? Then there is a logistical issue also. Election Commission has said that it needs up to a year's lead time for the collection of EVMs and VVPATs for the one nation, one poll. Right? Then there is unequal playing field. How? Due to the long poll schedule, some parties will get less time, some parties will get more time for campaigning. So here what will happen, the national parties or parties which are very resourceful, they will take advantage of the long schedule and they will go for extensive campaigns. Whereas the smaller parties will find it difficult to sustain such longer campaign period. Right? Then there is a social dimension here also. When there are frequent elections, there are employment opportunities created every time. So this is also affected. The employment opportunities also affected in the simultaneous polls. So what is the way ahead? What should be done to increase the feasibility of the process? Because it is desired already. So we can quote here two reports, that is Parliamentary Standing Committee report on Personal Public Grievance and Law and Justice, 79th report, and the Niti Aayog working paper of 2017, where it says that we should be holding election in two phases. Instead of going one phased election, we should be holding elections in two phases. That is, elections to some legislative assemblies could be held along with the Lok Sabha and the remaining during the midterm of the Lok Sabha. And about the schedule of the by-elections, by-elections to all seats that become vacant during a year may be conducted together in one date or during a predetermined time period. So the Niti Aayog discussion paper of 2017 also said the same thing about conducting two-phase simultaneous election. Again, to deal with the problem of premature and frequent elections, it is said to bring a confidence motion along with no confidence motion simultaneously for the formation of an alternative government on lines of German constitution. Right? To add on, you can also write about the Law Commission draft report of 2018, where it has said to conduct all the elections falling in a calendar year together in a predetermined date. So these were basically the recommendations you should be learning while writing any question related to the simultaneous polls. Thus, you can conclude in this answer what the Prime Minister has been saying, that there has to be a national consensus. So if there is no national consensus on the simultaneous polls, then it should not be imposed on the people. It should not be thrust on the people. So this was all about today's discussion. Thank you so much.